Okay, good morning, good afternoon. Is that appropriate? Good afternoon. Let's see. Chris Bates was having some trouble getting on, and Ben isn't going to be joining us today, and Barbara's here. So, and I don't actually have any business to talk about, so I think we're okay for a few moments here while we wait.
Hillary, are you good? Can I go?
Yes, you can go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We have Leon and Barbara and Michael. So yeah, so you're all here and I'm here. We're just going to wait for Chris Bates.
I'm on.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Great.
So
Here we are.
today is July 1st, 2022.
June 1st.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm just gonna say,
July
it's
1st.
not.
All right, it's June 1st, 2022. Let's see here. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, paragraphs 18 through 25, as amended by Chapter 28 of the Articles of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and to the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Bylaw of July 1986 and its regulation of January 2000, the Wellfleet Conservation Commission will hold public hearings on Wednesday, June 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. And we are having currently the business meeting for the commission. And in attendance, we have Marty Murphy, Leon Shreves, Barbara Brennesel, John Kumbler. And
Michael
that's it.
Fisher. Michael Fisher.
Michael Fisher, you're down there. I got it. I was going by face recognition. No face, no recognition.
I assumed
Okay.
literacy, but Bram,
Let's see, I'll find, you don't have anything for us today, Hillary?
No, I don't have any jurisdictional opinions. We tackled them all at the last meeting, or we've pushed everyone to an RDA. We have everyone on the agenda coming, and Ken, it looks like you're here a bit early. The actual meeting and hearing starts at 5 o'clock. So if you want to do something else for 45 minutes, you're good. We issued the Herring River order.
I will come back. Thank you.
Okay, so long.
We issued the Herring River order of conditions yesterday, so the 10-day appeal period has started on that. And I think that's all I have. We've
The 10-day period, I take it that the conditions are posted somewhere on the,
so we have the original here, which we have to record at the registry. One copy goes to DEP, one copy goes to NPS, one copy went to Friends of Herring River, and then folks would call and request it. So it doesn't actually get posted anywhere, but it's here in the file for those that want to come and observe it.
okay, and that includes anybody in the public?
Yep.
True? Yep,
Yep.
okay, all right. So we got 10 days to wait out.
Yep.
How's Truro doing?
Truro is having another hearing, I think, on June 6th.
Monday, I think.
Yeah, is Monday, June 6th. That's what I
At
was just
5
saying.
o'clock.
Yes, Monday to issue theirs. So,
Okay, good.
so that's coming along well. Let's see, our cyanobacteria testing is starting up in the ponds with our Gupaka group helping out. So that's great. They came and picked up all the stuff today. And beach signs will be going up and sampling will be starting there soon too. And we looked at the boats at King Philip, Barbara.
Mhm.
And I'm still like hemming and hawing over the land ownership out there.
It looks like it was recently surveyed because those pink flags just came up recently. And I
But
don't
we
know.
didn't do the surveying. So I'm wondering if the state maybe did the surveying as part of their inspection.
I don't know, but I would hope now that Meredith's on board and you have some help, that she may be able to contact Jason Zimmerman, who I contacted last year, who put up signs and then they were vandalized immediately.
Yeah. Yeah,
find out if they did the surveying and if they could do something about, let us know where their territory is.
yeah, I'm just pulling up the King Philip Road map right now so we can,
It was kind of ambiguous for a while.
yes,
And for many years, the homeowners were telling people that they couldn't park in the lot. But on the DCR website, it says that that's the parking for the DCR for the recreational area. So
Oh.
it's very conflicting. And then and Sterling told me that the homeowners only own to the end of King Philip right before the parking lot. So their signage couldn't say no parking in the lot. They can only say no parking on the road. It's
oh,
very
interesting.
confusing. And then the Right to Public Access group
Yep, yep.
wants to know ownership too, because they want to drive through there to the beach. Some of them. The shell fishermen would like that access to the beach over the salt marsh. So, you know, I noticed on the warrant that public access is asking for the surveying of another area. I don't know who surveyed this area.
Well, I wonder, well, I don't know who surveyed this area, clearly. But King Philip Road is a private road,
Yes,
and then we own this parcel 0, is that? Just wanna,
maybe. I don't know.
no, that's Prager. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what town ownership is, if there is any.
Not clear.
Okay,
But anyway, whoever owns it, the vessels are on the vegetation.
yeah, so I think the bottom line is we will sticker them because it seems like they're off to the east of the road,
Yeah.
and that would have it on Commonwealth property, but they're on the grass and they don't have permission to be there. So in accordance with our regulations, they need to be removed. I did forward that to the harbor master and I have not heard back from him. And so I was trying to recall if the harbor master's regulations say that boats need to be, he removes them. Well, he removes them when they're not in the right place.
Yeah, and then they go over to that sand pit and they have
Yeah.
to be redeemed.
Yep, yep. And so I was gonna have Meredith make some signs like the one we have in other parts of the town that say no vessels.
Subject to
No vessel
confiscation or something.
storage. I was gonna use the same language we had on the other sign that went up next to Ann Udowitz's place.
Yeah, these are completely different. They're big sailboats. They're not the little
Yeah.
kayaks that usually show up there. They're sailboats on little trailers that are parked on the grass.
But they still fall under vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they're not
So-
likely to be the shell fishermen or anybody with a mooring, so
No,
that's not a problem.
no.
Well, they're not tagged in any way, so we don't know. So we don't know who they belong to. So I think we have some stickers. I'm hesitant to do the stickering. But it's the season is upon us and it's time. So we just have to do it.
I agree.
Maybe with a nicer worded sticker, but Meredith and I will figure that out.
And some signage, because right now people don't know they can't put their vessels there.
Yes, no, Meredith was gonna work on the signage. Yes, we're gonna work on the signage.
Okay,
We need to order some blank signs and then we can make them here at the sign shop.
all right. And then the other thing I emailed you about was this house that's being constructed on King Philip. I may have gotten the address wrong, but it's around what did I say? 360, 350 King.
Yes. Well, I have a 360 Ocean View Drive. That's a hot property too, but that's not the one you're interested in. The one you asked about was.
I knew the people that owned it and sold it. And now there's a reconstruction of the house, but then there's another big structure much closer to the marsh.
In the marsh.
And I'm not sure if it's in our jurisdiction or not.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that one too, because I'm sure we can track it down. So that's not a big deal.
Okay.
Just looking. And you got your path forward for oh no, that's 360 Cove Road, not that one.
No,
360 seems to be a jaded number.
I know, it's kind of troubling me at the moment, but
it may be 350 King Philip. I'm not sure what the number is.
yeah, we'll find it regardless.
You can't miss this giant structure that's going up there. So
Huh?
Yeah, I think we need to move quickly on this, because if it is in our jurisdiction, we don't want a situation where it's an after the fact and
350
they build a structure and we tell them they have to, for their sake, I don't want them to have to remove a structure.
All right. Let
And
me
I think
see
that's
where
what we have to do if
active
someone is
building.
building in without, you know, in our area, without coming to us. And
We
I
have
don't
to-
want them, you know, I just feel if they don't know, we need to tell them stop before they go any further.
All right, we have to get to 2020. Hold on, let me just see. We have a 395 King Philip Road.
mm,
And there, no, that's just an express permit, so not that one.
There's one at 246 King Philip Road, Miller.
oh, that's a different property. That's on the Bayside.
Okay.
Yep.
We have a 374.
This one didn't come before us at all. And I'm just wondering if they're building like a garage apartment structure.
We have an in-ground pool going in at 375 King Philip Road.
I don't know if that's the address.
Okay, let's see, 70, no, 400 King Philip Road.
There's a new house being built from the ground up, new foundation, everything.
All right, so it has to be the one with the pool, because that's the only thing we have a permit for.
Okay, and the pool's out of our jurisdiction.
I'm gonna go double check that. 375 King Philip Road, Nozar. Map 35, parcel 194, hold on.
So what I saw, it may be the pool house.
Yes, 35, 194. Hold on, let me get the plans and all of.
Or somebody's building a garage without even getting a building permit, which seems unlikely, but.
And I would be very surprised if Natural Heritage wasn't consulted, because that's a terrapin nesting yard. I mean, they nest all over that yard. But now they'll be able to swim in a pool, maybe.
Because there's no other place to swim in Wellfleet. Gee, what do you do on a hot day?
So Leon, are you imitating Hillary with the background?
Yes, I decided I would play in the grass too.
It's the same grass.
It's the same.
Yeah. Yeah, it is the same grass. She's just on the other side of the bush.
All right, so what is the grass?
I don't know. It's just there.
It's
What-
It's dewy grass.
It's
here we
one of
go.
those.
I'll go to my
Oh,
office. How's that?
All
Michael,
right, there you go.
while we're just talking gossip, there is an article in Science News the last month on environmental farming in India. If you get Science News. I thought
Okay,
of you as I read it.
Was it an upbeat article or a downbeat article?
It was pretty positive about sort of, trying to use solar power to increase pumping groundwater and different, I don't know. I thought Michael would find it interesting.
Yeah, that's great. I haven't seen it.
Okay, so I am looking at this. The permit was only for the pool and the spa, not a pool house.
Maybe that's a spa. No. With, attendants and hot
Right.
towels and all that stuff.
Well, but it was probably confusing maybe to the builder, whoever's doing the work, because it looks like the whole thing is outside of our jurisdiction, but there's also on the plan a dwelling addition, which I'm guessing might be what you're seeing, Barbara, if it's towards King Philip Road.
No, it's towards the marsh. The dwelling addition is towards the marsh, or the structure is towards the marsh. Someone should get out there anyway.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
I didn't want to walk because they're all signs posted, private property, no trespassing, I didn't go back there.
But
Need a
you can see
badge.
it from the road.
Yeah, I could see it from the road and the marsh.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the pool house, which we don't have a permit for, is just outside the buffer zone. So it's not in our jurisdiction. But we don't have a permit for it.
So if that is the.
We don't have
pool,
a building permit for it, should I say. It's not in conservation jurisdiction. It's
okay.
literally like 3 feet outside of it. Make that 5 feet. It's 5 feet off the buffer zone.
And they didn't need natural heritage.
So we don't, if they don't need conservation, we're not the keeper of the natural heritage paperwork.
Okay, because that whole yard was a terrapin nesting area.
Yeah, my guess is they would need that.
If it came through us.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't come through us, if it is, I'm just pulling it up here. If it's in jurisdiction, it's up to them to file. And the state supposedly follows up on those things every once in a while. Whatever that means, I don't know.
Okay,
Was this the cake house?
no,
Yes.
no, that's
No.
not the wedding cake house, no.
Oh, okay, then this.
But it was a round house, round shaped house.
But not the wedding cake.
No.
Okay, 375 is the wedding cake house. So maybe you're looking at something else. But I see no other round like houses.
It was after Banner's house. Paul Banner's house, which is,
Is it on Paul Banner's side?
yes.
Okay, the wedding cake house is on the other side. So, okay, it's not this pool one then.
Okay, no.
Okay, all right. Let me file that all back and keep looking. All right, well, in any case, we'll track it down.
Okay,
It's not this one.
it's near Paul Banner's house. It's on that side of King Philip.
You don't happen to know Paul Banner's number, right?
I think it's 345 and it's right after that.
All right, 340.
So that's why I thought it was like 350, but it may have to be
All right, we'll find it. We may have to just travel down the road and look for it, hunt it
Maybe
down.
Yeah, maybe it's 375. I don't know. There's no address posted there.
Okay, good. Those are the ones we really like.
Yes. We went to one house today that didn't even have a driveway on the road. It seemed like it was just up there on the
Yes.
hill somewhere.
I would encourage people who file, there used to be a little block to give directions to the house, especially if it's hard to find or on a dirt road. This house we couldn't find.
Well, we finally got there, but we got there irregularly.
Right.
It is a requirement that all homes be numbered, but Wellfleet people don't always like to comply with that.
Well, it was numbered. Once you got into the weeds and walked around, the number was on the electric box, but there was no driveway near the electric box.
There was a
You
cliff.
came in by Dequested Knowles back road and came in the back way. So from our point of view, it was a disaster. But also for the homeowners, if they have a heart attack and they call 911, it'd be a disaster.
That's true. Is there anything else besides meeting minutes that we should talk about?
I don't think so.
So Michael, what were the minutes for the last meeting that you put around?
5/18.
Okay, and I looked at them. I thought they looked great. And Barbara, you worked
Yep.
on them, right?
Yep.
Hmm?
I move we approve the minutes from May 18th.
I second.
Second,
Okay. Marty,
Yes.
I vote yes. John,
yes,
Barbara,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Okay, that piece of business is done. What else should we do?
I think that might be all.
okay, I'm gonna bring this up once again. And Michael, maybe you could help me because you may remember Robert's rules better than I do. But my understanding is that if the person who proposes a motion doesn't have to, that they're automatically yes vote. They don't have to vote again. Yes. Is that true?
I'm not sure. I do know that if you want to have a reconsideration, you
You
vote
have to vote for, yeah,
for, and then you can say, I want to reconsider it,
right.
but that's not really relevant. Well, I don't know. It's good to have the 6 votes or whatever it is in the minutes.
Okay, I was just trying
Yeah.
to think we could save some time, but I'm willing to continue. We don't have such a huge group of people. that
There's only
doesn't take
5
that
of us. Jesus. We
If
could
I
all,
recall, when we started doing the Zoom meetings, I got town council's direction on that, where we need to go to each person while we're in the Zoom meetings. Perhaps when we go back to people meetings, we won't have to do that.
I'm not sure we're ever going back to people meetings.
Okay, so I was gonna ask Hillary about people meetings. Is that on the agenda for us?
I don't think yet.
I think the select board are trying out the technology. And I think they will direct us when it is time to go back.
Okay,
Chris, my wife did a Friends of the Library or a library committee meeting via hybrid today.
Oh, okay.
She used my wide angle camera to show the whole group. And that worked out pretty well. So we could try that the first time we do a meeting. Because it's got a wide angle.
Yeah, we have the meeting room at the COA that has been apparently set up for hybrid meetings, but I think that also involves having somebody there to do the recording. I don't know. I think we need to wait for direction from administration to see how to proceed and figure out what they want us to do.
Okay,
Doesn't matter either way, but
Right.
are you all comfortable? Well, I guess you don't all have to be in person if we do a hybrid.
Well, wasn't there something about a majority of the people had to be there? There was
quorum.
the chair and a majority of the committee had to be there and others didn't if they had a reason. That was the last time the select board came up with rules.
Perhaps we can query them and see what they want us to,
Yeah,
because I haven't been directed yet, so I have no idea.
well, many
And-
moons have passed since that directive probably.
And we do, I mean, we do own or at least have access to a computer that we used to use when we met in person to show things on the screen and so on. But it's been 3 years and who knows what happened. It also couldn't both show and be on the internet at the same time. So if we're going to do what Leon is suggesting, then someone else has to have a computer that can both be on Zoom and be, available in terms of
Yeah, well, we
sound.
could-
and-
Yeah, one of us, yeah, I mean, we could have a laptop with a camera to view the whole group. And then the other computer that you use for, could be a different computer too. Well, I guess not, because you want to put it up on the screen. So never mind.
Yeah, I think we have to get guidance from town hall and see what the equipment. Clearly, we're going to need to be walked through what the equipment looks like and what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to operate it. So stay tuned. Let us seek out that information and figure out how to move forward here.
Well, in a hybrid meeting, we'd still be doing Zoom, so we could still be recording it.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Mhm.
Forgotten what it's like to meet in person.
Oh, you'll love it.
And speaking of meeting in person, when we talked about going over the final draft of our revised regulation, we were going to do that in person.
Yes.
Where is the status of that?
We needed to find a new date and I have not circulated anything back around yet.
Okay, when you do, I'm going to be gone from the 9th to the 22nd
Of which month?
of this month.
Okay. Meredith, can you pass me that agenda? The 9th to the
Right,
22nd.
I'm going to miss next meeting.
Okay.
Right.
That's
good
June.
to know.
I will be in Hawaii.
Oh, nice.
Oh, so you go to Nova Scotia one week and then you go to Hawaii the next month?
I know Nova Scotia was on my dime. Hawaii's on my son's dime.
Well, I know, but still, it's quite a contrast.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel.
So John, don't you have any friends in Wellfleet?
John doesn't have any friends anyway.
I go, I don't have any friends. There are people who tolerate me with alcohol.
Is anybody else planning to travel this summer? Barbara, are you taking time off or
I
you're?
would like to take a sabbatical, July and August, maybe I don't know, the whole of, yeah, probably the whole of August.
Okay, so all of July and all of August.
Yes, I would like to do that, but if there's something pressing and I don't have a commitment that day, it's hard to say this far in advance that I would come if you needed a quorum or if there was something pressing. I can't go to site visits.
Yep, that's fine. In July, we will have an executive session, hopefully, if if our opponent can show up to court and be there on the Dequested Neck Road property, which was continued again because I think the attorney for the opposing individual was headed to Europe. So we've had some requests for continuance from the opposition on that. So
Do we know what they want to talk about?
I asked Amy I asked Amy and no, it's not clear to me. I think it's on the remand language, but it's like, I don't know. Let me see what she told me in my last email correspondence with her.
We may want to wait since we haven't announced it.
Yeah, we shouldn't be discussing it, so. Really? Oughtn't we?
I can tell you what they're going to court for.
Okay,
30th. I've lost sight of where we are. This is a hearing where they are trying to strike the remand administrative record, the remand that the court ordered. That's all I can tell you.
okay. So that was the remand that everybody thought was pretty weird anyway, right?
Yes, yes,
So they're trying to undo that, get things straightened out?
I guess, but we have a new owner.
Yeah. And there
And
are
I
a lot
think-
of involved.
And I think the property, not that this is neither here nor there, I think the property was on Airbnb recently.
I can believe that there were people there,
Oh,
People alive
a
to
bunch of
live this way.
cars, and
okay.
they weren't all, you know, BMWs and
Yeah, no.
Mercedes.
No, yeah, I think it's on Airbnb.
Yeah, there's a couple of Audis in the group.
So that's okay, neither here nor there. That's all I have for you today.
All right.
Okay.
What? Somebody want to move to take a break until 5? I'll
So
move.
moved.
Okay, and is there a second?
Barbara,
Second,
Okay, geez, you guys are, wait another hour and you'll be dying to get on. Marty, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. John, you
Yes.
obviously vote yes. Barbara
yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Okay, see you at 5. Where did my wife go?
That's quite a setup you have, Leon.
Yeah, yeah, it's my office. I wanted it to look like my old. We'll go to Cinque or Cinque Terre.
Oh, wow.
That's Italy.
Yeah, that's the Amalfi Coast.
I think it is. It's either that or Cinque Terre, but I think it's the Amalfi Coast. We are both, and I just grabbed a picture and played with it. Okay. Well, now we're waiting for a quorum.
So Leon, I miss your distorted face.
Yeah, I got tired of that wide angle thing. I'm gonna get this is my laptop again, which has got a crummy camera, so I'll get fixed up. Just about the time we go to standard meetings, probably. Okay, we have a quorum, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, paragraphs 18 through 25, as amended by Chapter 28 of the Acts of 2009, the Wetlands Protection Act, and to the Wellfleet Environmental Protection Bylaw, July 86, and its regulations of January 2000, the Wellfleet Conservation Commission will hold public hearings on Wednesday, June 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. via Zoom. And currently in attendance, we have Marty Murphy, Leon Shreves, Barbara Brenneseld, John Kumbler, Michael Fisher, and that's it. That's us.
All right.
And you
Ben-
said,
Ben's
Ben-
not here.
Ben will not be joining us tonight.
Okay.
okay, yeah, we've got a quorum. All right. So,
I didn't hear my name on there. Shay Murphy?
oh, well, you're not on the commission.
Oh, no, no. Oh, I'm sorry. First time doing
You were
this.
on the commission and we
Okay.
gladly accept your application. You could be named too. Okay. First one is Cone, 135 Pine Point Road, map 21, parcel 55 and 50, parcels of 55 and 54, certificate of compliance. As I recall, this is the one that we had real confusion about.
Yeah, and
the address and everything.
I have since clarified. So this is a request for certificate of compliance. Matt, you're not speaking on this. For 135 Pine Point Road, and back in 2015, the parcel was subdivided, and there was a request in 2016 by Thomas Cone to build a new dwelling and to replace a septic system. The new dwelling was never built according to the order 771407, but the new septic system went in. So the septic system is in complete compliance. The dwelling was never built. So you're issuing a certificate of compliance for the septic system. And then that property, just so we're clear, went on to have another plan approved for Farnsworth that built a dwelling on that parcel. So the one we're approving is just for the septic system.
So there wasn't any tree changing?
Nope, not under that, not at that time, only for what was done for the septic system.
And how long ago was this?
2015, 2016.
Okay.
And we
Well,
issued a certificate of compliance. Board of Health.
So the septic system that was put in is being used by the new owner's house, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, all right, and that was a Title V, I take it, or?
Yeah.
Okay, I move that we go ahead and approve the certificate of compliance for Cone, 135 Pine Point Road.
Is there someone from the public who would want to talk or not?
That's a good question. Or anybody on the commission?
This is David Mead Fox. I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'm just commenting as an abutter, and I'm a little confused still. I don't believe any house has been built on that parcel that I have seen, and I go by there all the time.
Not yet. There's a new order for a new dwelling.
An order for a new dwelling.
Yeah.
Okay. So the septic system that's put in is not being used yet.
Not yet, but it will be connected to the new dwelling.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
So you'll have a new neighbor.
Yeah, just checking. And I'm
Okay.
going to check on them too. This
Yeah,
is a
that would-
particularly sensitive area, not only because of the purview of the Conservation Commission, but as everybody knows, one of the most beloved walkways in all of Wellfleet. And so there's a lot, I think there's going to be a lot of appropriate scrutiny of how that unfolds there.
Are you talking about the bike or the railroad track? Is that what you're talking about, or?
I'm just talking about the walkway that goes down along the water towards
Oh.
Uncle Tim's Bridge. And that
Oh.
part of that is in this parcel.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a real problem with this one, figuring out where it was and what we were talking about.
I think the parcel goes right to the other side of that path, right, where the old, right to the other side of the railroad right of way. And then our property, my wife and Meryl's and I, goes right up to that point from the harbor side.
Let's see. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
well, there again, all we're doing is approving the certificate of compliance just for the septic system. Is that right? And that will be noted. I saw your lips moving, Hillary.
I said that's correct. Am I on
Okay.
mute? Am I?
All right.
No, I'm here. No, that's correct. Only the septic system went in. That was part of the order. Correct.
All right. So I made a motion. Does somebody want to second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, Marty, how do you vote?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Barbara?
Yes.
John?
I don't like this at all. It's a septic system and I wish it too close to the water. And I wish it were not just a Title V, so I'm going to abstain.
You can vote no.
I'll vote no then.
All right. And Michael, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 4 and 1.
Form
Cindy?
8B,
Which one was that?
8B.
8B. That's special. Thank you. All right, the next hearing is Finken, 560 Old Dequested Neck Road, map 19, parcel 3, an RDA for a septic upgrade. And I believe we went out there and looked at that today.
Did you not? Oh, there is Jason. I was gonna say, I don't see him on there. There he is.
All right. So this is just off the road on the hill. Is that right, Jason?
Correct, yeah, so the current septic system's up on the northeast corner of the property, and all the wells are located up on the high part of the property, up on the top of the hill. So it kind of leaves only the area down close to the road for me to place the septic system and be compliant with the well setback, which is kind of the priority setback. So we placed the septic system down on that slope there, down as close to the road as we could, and just outside the 100-foot from the well. But there's a little portion of the 100-foot buffer zone that kind of touches that southeast corner of the lot. And then there's the flood zone that kind of comes up on the bank there a little bit. We're outside all the 100-foot, we're outside of the flood zone, but there's the construction access would be from the edge of the pavement down there, through the flood, through area of your jurisdiction. And that would all be restored when it was done, with a new septic system there and whatnot. So it'll be, all in all, it's a really good upgrade. So.
All right. Barbara?
Yeah, right now it seems very wooded. We had trouble even getting in there. So when you say it's going to be restored, what is it going to look like after the septic's put in? Is it going to be wooded again, or it's going to be habitat?
Well, we can't plant trees over the septic system because that'll impact the septic system. So what we were looking to do is plant a conservation grass seed mix on that slope, jute netting on the slope, just to hold the hold the erosion down. We really can't plant too much on top of the septic system that would have any kind of root intrusion, because that'll fail the septic system. So the vegetation would be restored back with conservation grass seed mix.
How many trees are going to come down?
I don't know the exact count. It was staked out there, so you should have been able to see how many were in there. So
I'm wondering if there's some kind of mitigation elsewhere on the property for the trees that are going to be lost as habitat and carbon storage.
Well, the septic system, where the septic system is that's out of your jurisdiction. So I mean, any trees where the septic system are, and there's not a lot of trees between the edge of the road and where the septic system was. Okay. I think there was a couple of small oak trees. Everything else is outside your jurisdiction. So
gotcha. Okay.
The only area that we're looking to disturb is just the small area that between the edge of the pavement and the lot line there to come in to get the access.
Right, and the town doesn't want trees there anyway because of snow plows and all that kind
Correct.
of stuff.
Yeah, and there's not a lot, but from for about 10 feet, 12 feet in from the edge of the pavement, there's not a lot there for vegetation already. So.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense though. And it makes sense to put them away from the wells. Any other questions or statements from the committee? How about the public? Is there any concerns, questions? All right. Then would somebody like to make a motion?
I will move that we approve the RDA for Finken 560 Old Dequested Neck Road for the septic upgrade.
I'll second them.
Okay, Marty, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Leon votes yes, and Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Abstain, for
Michael?
the obvious reason.
Michael, yes.
Okay, so,
Do you identify if it's a -2 or 3?
It's a -2 because the very corner of the overdig is in the flood
Right.
zone.
Thank you.
okay,
Thank you.
sounds like you're good to go, Jason.
Thank you.
Form 2.
Thank you, Barbara. Okay, the next one's Murphy, Logie Bay area, RDA for shellfishing. Does somebody know the full story on that? is, I
He's-
see
he's-
Shay's here. Shay.
Yeah,
Yep, I'm
Shay
here.
Shay is here. We had continued him because we were awaiting the Army Corps letter. So
Right.
he didn't want to come before we had heard from the Army Corps. We got the Army Corps letter just this week. And so Shay called today and I told him to go ahead and come because we had everything together. So Shay,
Okay.
you want to unmute yourself and tell us about your fishing, please?
Okay, yeah, I'd like to, I've been applying for an extension. The map, I've sent in the maps and stuff so you guys can see, and a couple of the people on the board have came out to take a look at it.
Mhm.
And I'm here to answer any questions that you guys might still have.
Barbara's I think our only concern was that there was going to be enough of an alleyway for terrapins and things to be able to get up to the shore. Barbara?
Yeah.
I had a number of questions, and one is that the boundary is sort of consistent with another grant that we haven't approved yet. I'm trying to read this map. I mean, I think there's no problem with the little triangle called 01-02 extension B, because that's sort of in the middle of things. But then the triangle seaward of Bob LaPointe's grant, I think, is problematic. And I also think the extent of the other triangle, 2000-7B, is problematic because that relies on 855C being approved, and it hasn't been approved. So right now, I'm not quite on board with all of this. And the other issue I have is that anything more than a half acre has to go through the NOI process, and this is more than a half acre that's being applied for here. It's in the shell fishing regulations, it's supposed to be an NOI, not an RDA. So those are my concerns. As I said, I have no problem with the small triangle. But the seaward triangles, I do have issues with.
And are those issues because of overlap or environmental issues? I mean, are the issues just a matter of blocking? Are they blocking ingress and egress of the terrapins, or?
I
No,
don't think they
it
would be.
doesn't have to do with terrapins at all. I think going further into the channel is a conflict of interest for a number of reasons. And also the shape of this depends on 855C being approved, and it hasn't been. And then Bob LaPointe made a couple of good points when we did a site visit out there, because that triangle would sort of block his grant from the water, and maybe food for his shellfish. So I think it's complicated. I think it's not a simple, squaring off of the grant. I think there are a couple of other issues that need to be considered.
But wouldn't those issues, I mean, those are conflicts between grants, but not due to our concerns, right? I mean, that's something for Nancy and her office to take care of, her commission to take care of, right?
Well, first of all, this should be an NOI, I think, because it's more than a half acre. And then being close to the channel, that's a resource. Blackfish Creek is a resource for us to protect. Even though it's town-owned, the Hedilda property is town-owned, we still have jurisdiction over those resources. And this is a multi-user area, and I think we have to consider the multi-users. I think we have to consider the resources. I think that as the DMF says, the buoy lines are hazards to turtles and marine mammals. There's a lot of traffic in that area in terms of wildlife. So going further into Blackfish Creek, I think, is problematic for me. I think there's room for somewhat of an extension, but not all the way to a grant that hasn't even been approved yet.
Is that grant farther out into the channel?
Yes.
All right, see. So I take it we'll be hearing about that in the future as well. Well,
It hasn't come before us.
right. I said in the future.
So those are my concerns.
All right. Does anybody else have any concerns?
I just want to see if we can pull up on the town's GIS this location so we can look at the creek and see where it runs within this grant. So I'm headed to the assessor's maps to the GIS to see if we can see that. But perhaps Mr. Murphy could tell us how he farms while I'm looking.
Yeah, the way that I have my racks and set up, it would only be going out like another 40 feet on one end. And the other corner is already an existing corner and it's the same depth. And if my neighbor gets his extension, then we would share that same corner. So it would only actually be one new buoy that the both of us would share. And I'm okay with not doing the one that's next to Bob LaPointe 2007C after hearing his concerns about water flow. And I don't think it's really going to mess it up, but I would just want to keep the peace out there.
Yeah.
He seemed like it would disturb what he's got going on.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Does that ameliorate your concerns at all, Barbara? Or you're still that one corner?
That
even
particular
during
trunk
buoy?
spot. Yes, I think that's a good thing. And I'm also concerned with access through those. I know Bob says he has a 25-foot area that he doesn't put anything on, so boats can go through. And I don't know how that would shape up here. The maps that I have are kind of confusing for me to read, even though we've been out there twice. To have,
Not many landmarks out there.
a public access through the grants for kayakers and other users as well. Because
There's-
their users would sort of be landlocked
Sure.
by all of these grants, cheek to jowl, all across Blackfish Creek.
Okay, before you
Yeah.
respond to that, Nancy has her hand up. Nancy, are you there?
I am,
Hi.
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 So just I wanted to address a couple of things. So when the Shellfish Advisory worked at the select board's direction to decide how this parcel of land was going to be used, they carved out an area that has always been open for kayakers, for sailors, for motorboats to go through. It's just slightly north of Bob LaPointe's grant. There's a corridor there, and that will never be developed for the express purpose of what you're talking about. I would imagine, obviously wildlife will use it too, but wildlife doesn't seem to get at least turtles and horseshoe crabs don't seem to get impeded by the oyster racks. And I think I've even heard Bob Prescott say, it actually provides great feeding grounds for them, for the terrapins. But so first is that kind of access. And the second is that before, like the very, very first step with Shay and every other grant extension that comes before to the Shellfish Department, we walk the bottom with the harbor master. The harbor master is in charge of the comings and goings on the water. And therefore, he looked at that. There's, as Shay's saying, there's only one new point for his grant. Only one new buoy that he shares with a grant that, correct, it has not yet come in front of you, but it's received the other certifications. And I'm sure as soon as he gets his Army Corps, he'll be coming in front of you, and that's Mike DeVasto's grant. So the harbor master came and looked at these buoys and approved them. So I feel comfortable that he's the one, that's his expertise. I rely on him for the channel. That's not the Shellfish Department's area jurisdiction. So we defer to him. It's in the regulations. And then we brought it to the select board who approved it. Then the Division of Marine Fisheries came out, did a biological survey, certified it, and then Army Corps, and now here we are. I could have been me that gave Shay the wrong information about which form to fill out, and I'm just learning too. But I thought that we had collaborated on the phone with the Conservation Department, but if there's a new form that needs to happen, then just let us know and we can get that together.
Okay. And I think this was all done in good faith, so I don't consider that a big problem, personally. Barbara, you said that it's in the shellfish regulations to do the NOI?
I'm looking for that right now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And any grant or grant extension greater than ½ acre has to go through the NOI process.
Okay, and I take it that the people that would be informed would not only be the people with grants around there and property right by it, but also anybody that the egress or ingress would be affected by, right? Egress and ingress.
Oh, can I just, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
so when you say NOI, I don't understand the acronyms yet, okay? So NOI, I'm assuming you're referring to MIPA, am I correct? Because I'm looking at it in the regulations. If there's an area is a ½ acre or larger.
What section of the regulations are you in?
I'm looking at 7.6 and 7.6, page 22 of our regs.
Yeah.
And it's number 8. And I remember this is just, there was a MIPA meeting last Friday or Friday the 20th. And this is not going to be required. MIPA is no longer going to be required for anything that is 2 acres or less. And I believe Shay's total combined is about 1.7. I might be off by a point, but and I just hung up with Chrissy Pettipas from the Division of Marine Fisheries, who reiterated that they obviously have to go through the public hearings and the MIPA monitor postings, etc. But she believes that by August or September, anything under 2 acres will not need to go through MIPA. Anything between 2 acres and 10 acres, the Division of Marine Fisheries is going to have an aquaculture form, which will be required of all new applicants and grant extension applicants. They'll have to fill out this form, and that will be valid for the MIPA certification. Anything over 10 acres will require a full ENF.
But, and Barbara, you were talking about an NOI that, was that in Wellfleet's?
That's in the Wellfleet shellfish regulations, 7.6, number 8.
Well, I'm concerned not only about this particular thing, but a lot of folks are coming to us with projects that are not minor and are filling out RDAs when they should be NOIs. And this to me is one of them, because right in the regulations, it said it should be an NOI.
Okay, then I also need to know, like, so unfortunately, I wrote these looking at the state website and not understanding the details. So I should be getting with Hillary, deciding what these types of projects should require. And then I will take the regs to the selectmen and amend them if necessary. This is just me not knowing. I have so much always to learn in this industry. So I put that in, but I was.
It doesn't necessarily have to do with the other regulations. It has to do with the local environmental wetlands regulations. So I don't know what triggers the MIPA review. Is it an NOI or a?
It's the size and the issuance of state permits.
Yeah.
And the ACEC.
Okay.
So a couple different triggers would MIPA, but that's separate and in addition to the local Wellfleet Conservation Commission application.
Okay, John?
Yeah, this may not be relevant to this, but this is an area where we get dolphin stranding. Not a lot, but we do get them in Blackfish Creek in here. And I'm a little concerned if we get too many of these grants, it's going to end up being, we're going to get dolphins stranding on grants, and that's going to be a problem. I don't know what the answer is, but I am concerned about that. I mean, I've been out there. The shellfishermen are great. They call us when they see stranded dolphins. They're real partners with us on that, but I am concerned about filling up areas where the dolphins end up getting stranded on grants. I don't know the answer.
Was this subject brought up in your evaluation, Nancy? Did anybody, I mean, was this discussed?
About strandings?
Yeah, strandings.
No.
And the fact that they're, for IFAW to get in there and conduct their business, try to see, okay. All right, so that wasn't considered.
The only place I've had them on Lieutenant Island where the tide goes out really fast. It's really shallow and they get stuck. But right next to the channel there, I've never heard, and maybe, Shay and Pat would know better because they're out there every day, about strandings in that area in aquaculture gear. I haven't heard reports myself.
All right, Barbara?
Yeah, I don't want to make this much more complicated, but the section 7.2 of the shellfishing regulation is buffer zones. And I realize as I read it, it's pretty ambiguous. So Nancy, I know you have a lot on your plate, but take a look at that section because it says there shall be a buffer zone contiguous with the perimeter of any licensed area that is either 25 feet wide or half the distance to the adjacent licensed area. If
Unless they're abutting.
Unless they're 50 feet, unless they're abutting. So what does that mean? Like
exactly.
What does that mean? If they're abutting, then maybe that was a grant that was there before. But if they're not abutting now, you can't make them abutting. Is what I'm interpreting that to mean.
Yeah, I'm not. This has been brought up even with the select board, and it's just at one point there might be a time where we should go through and create some certainty, and I have to go back and look at the discussion, why it was added in, when it was added in, what was the intention. But yeah, we have already stumbled across this even at Shellfish Advisory and with the select board, that it's, because when the select board was trying to delegate to get a new grant out on the, how do you like them apples property, again, are we supposed to be doing it with a 25-foot buffer, or can we go right up to the next licensed area? And this doesn't give enough guidance. So it's just a work in progress.
Okay.
Until we go back and understand, like, why was it put in? What's the intent of that reg?
Right. So that was another reason why I'm a little reticent about approving some of this. As I said, that little triangle I have no problem with because it's right in the middle of Shay's grant already. And I don't know why he didn't get that initially as part of his grant. But the little triangle, seaward of La Pointe, I think Bob made some good points about not developing that for aquaculture. And then the other triangle, I think, is dependent on Devasto getting approved, and it hasn't been. So those are my issues right now. It's confusing. And I think this is, a learning curve for everybody, including the Conservation Commission, because we've never had folks come to us for approval for grants or extensions before.
Right. John?
Can we approve that little triangle Barbara is talking about, at least to get this off of our plate and give Mr. Murphy opportunity to move forward, at least for that, rather than put it off? Is that possible?
It's unclear what you're asking, John. Barbara wants to remove the triangle. There's no direction on these maps, which makes
there's a number 01-02 extension B.
I'm looking at the more the map. I'm looking at the map in our packet that says map 1. Because we don't have a stamped surveyed map to refer to. So we have the one that Shay provided.
Yep, that's on map 1.
The names of the grant holders. Map 1, I think what I'm looking at is 2000-7C. That's the piece you want removed.
Yes, and Shay also said that that's the one that Bob Lapointe is in conflict with.
Okay, so if we get rid of that and then we have this 2007B, do we know the coordinates of the end of Shay's piece? It can't just be connected to Mike DeVostos. We need to have the actual coordinates of the end of his grant, which I don't see.
I have them if you'd like me to read them off.
No, I think I don't want to write them down because there's a lot of numbers and,
Yeah, I'm looking at,
but I
the
think
map I'm looking at has the numbers on it.
Yeah,
we need a
Yeah.
copy of that for the file.
but that hasn't been approved yet, so. Anyway,
Well, okay, first of all, my opinion is that enough people have looked at this from their own perspectives, the wharf master, et cetera, that unless we know of something that's endangering the environment or the animals that live within it, I don't think that's in our purview to make a decision about locations and things like that, unless it's infringing on the areas that we're responsible for.
We
it-
should ask,
it is habitat, it is resource, Leon.
Yes,
Even
that's
though it-
true.
Even though.
No, I'm not saying that it's not a resource. I'm saying that we don't have an argument that says that doing this is causing the resource to be weakened or damaged.
can we circle back to Shay, please, and hear how he farms and fishes the area? Because I think I've asked to hear that a couple times and he keeps getting cut off. So,
Okay.
so
Shay,
I
you
think
get
it's
the floor.
important for us to understand how he accesses this site. And how he fishes it. What is his technique? When he brings his gear in and out, and just what his process is.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I would fish it just the way that I fish the rest of the farm when I use racks and bags, and I bring my gear in the winter time and I set it back out in the springtime, and I'm out there pretty much every day. I've never had any strandings for the 11 years I've been out there. I've never seen any dolphins get stranded. And I'm out there with my vehicle, so I know where you can drive and where you can't drive. There's not really any muddy spots in there. So if I for one needed to come out there with a truck or needed to use my truck, I'd be able to help them. And I haven't seen any tarpons coming across there. There is a few horseshoe crabs now and again, but I've never ran any over. It seems they don't have a problem going underneath the racks at all. I don't see a problem with the wildlife, and all the boating goes like the only issue at low tide, where when the racks would be a problem, they're going to have to go on the other side of that big sandbar closer to Lieutenant's Island to get through the deeper water channel there. And that water at low tide is so deep you can't walk through it with even chest waders. You can't walk to the boathouse, but the sandbar would be less than knee deep till you get almost 100 yards away from where the end of that buoy would be at low tide.
Do you access via the end of King Philip Road?
Yeah, I go through King Philip Road down through down over by Sewell's Gutter there, and then drive down the beach.
That's Omaha.
Okay,
Omaha
so
Road, yeah.
Okay, so you access the from the other side via Omaha.
Omaha Road, yes.
Okay, I'm just looking at it on a map because.
And it's all, this is all the same shell fishing. Nothing news about it. This is the way that they've always done it down there.
Does that give you the information you're hoping for, Hillary?
Yeah, I'm just looking. It's a long way from Omaha. Just looking at the map.
All of those grants are. Patrick Winslow has his hand up, I think.
Yes, Patrick. Go ahead.
My application is actually going to be right after Shay's here, but I want to just give some perspective as far as having gone through this process once before. Farm that I'm operating was approved in 2009, And I was a member of the Conservation Commission from 2005, 6, I guess, through that time. So we absolutely, as a commission, did have grant extensions come before us. I think Hillary probably remembers a few. And as I recall, they were all RDAs. And it was more of a concern about access to the farms and driving over vegetation to access the farms before you got to the lowlands to avoid habitat destruction. And as far as all the other ways to farm, the techniques of farming, animals that might be in the area, boater concerns, those were left up to the other agencies that have hired professionals in charge of them. And we were told, essentially, with a lot of other projects as well, on the Conservation Commission, it's not our job to count butterflies. It was more to look at how the project is going to affect the resource and whether it does affect the resource. And you can't count how many striped bass might swim by, or what kayaker decides to come over an area at a specific time. There's regulations as far as how high gear can be set. In Wellfleet, it's 18 inches off the bottom. As far as I can see, a kayaker would have to drag their kayak, I don't know, a couple hundred yards to get it in the water, to have it be an issue where the height of the gear is going to affect the kayaker trying to launch. So a lot of these issues aren't necessarily in your purview. So, and I'm just talking with experience shellfishing, and then as also coming from, I served on the board for 3 years. So that's my perspective.
Thank you, Patrick. That was very good. That was useful.
We have issued, Pat is correct, we have issued a number of determinations of applicability for shellfishing. We have never had a shellfisherman file the notice of intent. And so quite frankly, I spoke with Shay before he filled out his permit, and Nancy, and I was unaware that the shellfishing regulations referred to the notice of intent. I think that was Nancy carrying over the language on the Mass Aquaculture website for permitting to the shellfish regulations, and that's how that language got in there. I don't think that was a discussion anyone has ever had. So Pat is correct. We have issued a number of permits and extensions over the years since I've been here. Only a couple in recent years, because I don't think there were any new grants or extensions that have been granted in recent times. So since then, there's been a push at the state level for a new permitting process that the state is still trying to figure out. And that's sort of the place that we're in. I think that we need to have a look and make sure that our interests are met. And if they are, I think an RDA is acceptable for this, because I'm not sure what we would glean from the filing of a notice of intent, to be quite honest. It's a lot more paperwork, but the submittal and the information that we have is the same. And with the notice of intent, their permission goes away, and they'd have to come back and keep renewing and renewing and renewing and extending and extending and extending. And that doesn't really make sense if their activity isn't changing. So I'm inclined to go with the RDA, have Nancy change the language on her regulations, just so it says Conservation Commission permitting, because there may be a time in the future where we say, you know what, maybe we do need a little bit more oversight of these, but I'm not so sure we do at this time. I was concerned about the channel. I'm concerned about shifting sand. I'm concerned about sea level rise and what all of that means for the aquaculture industry in this town. But I think we have to just go it slowly and look where these are. And I think our biggest concern would be beach nourishment landing in these areas. So we want the fishermen to understand that that may be a reality and something that we have to work on. So that's all.
Right, and that we've had extensive discussions about that, and we have a plan going forward. about how we can actually determine how much sand gets moved around and how.
But
Hopefully
while these are new grants and new extensions, we should be clear with the applicant that they may see sand flowing. that
yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Are there any other comments from either the public or the commission? All right, I propose that we approve the Logie Bay, Murphy's Logie Bay area RDA shellfishing request for an extension.
Is with the, Leon, is without the extension, with the exception of 2000-7C?
Yes.
Yes.
If
Then
that's
I would second it.
okay. Thank you for reminding me of that. Marty, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. Barbara?
I'm going to recuse. I'm going to wait for that 25-foot corridor issue to be squared away.
All right. John?
You're on mute.
You're muted, John. Still muted. 2 words. First word sounds like.
The corridor is a concern, but obviously I don't want to hold things up. So I will reluctantly vote yes.
Okay, and Michael, how do you vote?
Yes.
All right. Let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we had enough to approve it. Okay, great.
And
So you're good to go from our
that's
standpoint.
a -2, right?
Yes.
And that would be a Form
2.
2, right?
Form 2.
And just for the record, we do have the letter from DMF and we do have the letter from the Army Corps, and those are the 2 requirements that we have prior to hearing the request.
Okay. So the next is Winslow. Patrick, that's you. Blackfish Creek Area RDA for shellfishing grant. I'm not familiar with, I don't think we visited that one. That was what we were going to look at today. So you want to tell us about where this is located? And oh, I see. It's off the end of the point.
Yep, it's the very last, my farm and another one are the 2 very end of the spit there. It's almost comes out. You could see it from the Pleasant Point landing pretty easily at low tide, or the Old Wharf.
So yours was just this little strip that that butts kind of a square grant and then runs along a longer grant, and you're right on the, is that the channel right there? Or is the channel farther out?
The channel veers farther out.
Yeah.
You know, I initially had it the angle of the extension a little bit different, but the select board came out with the harbor master and we modified it slightly to allow what was deemed better access for boaters that are coming in there. So my farm is the one that is the long side. My existing farm runs along the long portion, and my neighbor's farm, which we currently are an abutting farm, is the short little spit. So I was trying to just make them so that they were the same, you know, contour out. It was moving my farm out under, I think it was 60 feet or something like that, and running along to kind of fit the shape of my existing farm.
So Pat, your current farm is number 09-01, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
Nancy, I take it, can you vouch for the fact that all those checks have been done that we were previously talking about?
Yes, yep. The DMF has already been out there. He's already received his Army Corps certification, the DMF certification. It was reviewed by the harbor master and the shellfish warden multiple times. Small adjustment was made and that was brought back. In fact, he had 2 hearings in front of the select board and was approved at the second one.
Right, and this doesn't seem to in any way add constraint to boaters or anything, because it's surrounded by it's just evening out the curve. It looks
It
like.
actually will make it easier because there'll be a straight line of buoys for people to follow, in my eyes, you know, it just you have a little bit more.
And Pat, where do you access from? What's your access?
I access to the same location as Shay down Omaha Road and drive down the beach. It's a nice 15-minute drive. And so it's a long one, but it's fine. And the extension is approximately 0.45 acres. So it comes in underneath that half-acre mark, regardless of the
Right.
NOI. So.
Any comments from the committee members?
We have the DMF letter and the Army Corps letter in the file.
Yeah, I have no issue with this at all.
I would move the approval.
The only thing we need from Pat is a check for $30 for the RDA.
Oh, okay. I'll bring that down tomorrow.
You can give you an acceptance for $30.
So I make that out to the town of Wellfleet.
Yes, please.
All right, great.
Now make it out to Hillary. No. I'll second that. Marty, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes. Barbara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Michael?
Yes.
Okay, great. There you go, Mr. Winslow.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy, for all the information you gave us. So that's a 2 as well. My goodness, we haven't continued one
Thank you
yet.
for the collaboration.
Yes, absolutely. The next one is for Baco, 80 Kemp Circle, May 16th, parcel 646, an RDA to remove trees close to driveway and dwelling. Yeah, that's the one we went to this morning. Some of those trees are, a lot of those trees are very impressive. Is there somebody to speak to this?
Yes, Mr. Baco is here.
Okay, great. Some of them are clearly endangering your driveway and your building. There was some talk about the oak tree that we observed, an oak tree is that a small cottage you have next to your house, or is that a guest cottage, or?
One's a guest cottage, the other one is storage.
Oh.
You're talking about the tree that's right by the small building there?
Yeah, the oak tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
So when you come in the driveway, you saw the big tree that's leaning across.
No question there.
So this winter, first of all, they've had this property for 67 years. I've been involved in it for 38 years. So we had a little 80 some knot gust this winter. That's when that one decided to lay over. We also had a huge limb come down on top of the house. The limb was the size of a tree. So, unfortunately, these trees are starting to reach their life expectancy. As you can see, the family loves to leave the thing highly wooded. I mean, that's what they like. And, it's always been that way. They want to maintain that. But with walking around with the tree surgeon and, our experience, these are the trees that we feel are critical to need to be removed around the house. We'd like to not remove any of the trees. But, and the good news is we have so many trees there, which is, awesome.
Right. Who were you working with as far
Jim
as?
Shannon.
Pardon me? Dennis?
Jim Shannon.
Oh.
Jim Shannon.
Jim Shannon. Okay, thank you. Any comments from the commission? Barbara?
I hate
Go
to
ahead.
be a pest, but a couple of trees, 1 tree, 2 trees, RDA, 10 trees.
Definitely an NOI.
Triggers an NOI. And I don't know, Hillary, you can weigh in. I mean, I definitely think that those trees, most of them should go because they put the house in jeopardy. They put the driveway in jeopardy. I think maybe that oak tree could be pruned up, but I agree but I'm just wondering about having all these RDAs for more complicated projects, because there's going to be issues about access to the trees to cut them down. I don't know.
Yeah, so can I speak to that?
Yeah.
So we actually are going to spend the money to bring a crane in to set up in front of the house because we don't want to damage anything. So we're going to be taking the tops of the trees off, bringing it to the front by the driveway, cutting it up, putting it in the chipper, taking it away. Flush cut all of the stumps right down to grade and leave them in from an erosion point of view. But we want to have the least amount of impact to the property. We've got these beautiful rhododendrons. We've got everything that's grown in, you know, and we're going to do everything in our power, and we're going to spend the money to do it from a crane point of view. And you can imagine what that costs, so that we aren't anything. It's important to us.
Yeah, that oak tree, it's grown, you'd have to really take off that one big limb that's actually the trunk of the tree. I would not feel comfortable having that over a guest house myself, but.
I agree with you, Leon. When I saw it out there, I mean, that thing it's got a big curve in it. And it's not going to take
a
bunch of snow and a good wind.
Yep. I walk along from Long Pond out to Spectacle Pond, and that whole area up there is full of oak trees that are just blown to splinters by the wind. So that's where I'm coming from. But I do believe that the lot is beautifully wooded. And do you have any intention to plant some more trees farther from your house, or perhaps, or do you even have room to do that?
We really, you know, to plant trees, we would start to impact the rhododendrons and everything else that we have there. We don't want to impact that. We were not planning on planting any more trees. We kind of felt that we had plenty.
Right.
I have to agree. I think there's plenty. It's heavily forested.
Yeah, and I think that the undergrowth and everything is a big value too. When you take these trees out, though, there's going to be a lot more sunlight around your house, right? I mean, that most of these around you. What are you going to do about? Are you going to do any plantings or anything to? I mean, you're going to have just wild stuff coming up in general.
Exactly. We want to have where the tree is, whatever's there now is just going to grow right over the stump and grow up, whatever is, you know, indigenous to the area there. Sunlight is something we could use anyway, because we've just, you know, the mildew and everything else, as everybody knows who has a house at the Cape, is actually welcome.
I believe that this has merit. So I'm going to propose that we approve this RDA for removing trees. Barbara brings up a good point, though, that we're supposed to have a 3-tree limit on this sort of thing. I'm surprised that that wasn't brought up to you, but just for future, since you do have a lot of trees, 3 trees is kind of the top limit for an RDA. After that, since you're talking about bringing in a crane and that's operating around your neighbors and everything, NOI is probably appropriate. But I don't think that we ought to go there for this one myself. So I move that we approve this without any constraints.
John has his hand up.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think, and the tree over the driveway has to go. That's a danger to the public. The trees around the house, I think, are potential dangers. I can understand wanting to get rid of them. I also think the oak could be trimmed down and still saved. But the thing to keep in mind is these trees are sequestering carbon. I want to see some sort of planting. I know it's a wooded area, but we're taking out 10 trees. Don't we want to replace it with something rather than just have a removal of the trees and nothing put in their place?
Any trees?
Pardon me? Trees,
Well,
trees.
John, we didn't think about replanting, putting more trees in, because we feel we have an abundance of trees on our lot, probably more than, you know, most other properties around the area. I mean, I can appreciate where you're coming from, but we have no intention as of today of doing that. And besides, we would want to take the trees out and see what we have and then address it at that point. And I really don't think we're going to replant anything because there's so many trees. We did do some planting that was up in the upper as you came in the driveway, because a bunch of trees died off and actually fell down. And they're not doing very well because there's the sunlight, there isn't any.
Right. How about around in the area that's going to be getting more sunlight? How about some shrubbery of some sort?
You won't even see any of this because the way that except for the three that are on the west side of the house, they're all tucked into the rhododendrons and all of the ground shrubs. And even those, if you looked at it, there's the massive rhododendrons, which my father-in-law planted, 67 years ago. They're actually growing into these trees. So, they've got to be very careful not to, that's why I'll make sure to be there. So we don't have any issues with, hitting any of these, beautiful bushes that we have.
I would ordinarily agree with John and tree for tree, but I don't see where they could put any more trees.
I don't either. I agree.
I agree.
But I think habitat will be fine. I don't think you're going to lose a lot of habitat. I think the carbon sequestration will be lost, but I also think that with the big trees down, there are going to be other trees growing up, replacing them. So at least that's what I think will happen.
Yeah, they'll just grow faster because they've got more sunlight.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is you guys walk the property. You see the amount of trees that are in the path that goes through down. That's the look that the family likes.
Yeah.
They're not talking about taking trees down to put a lawn in or something like that. We don't want to have any of that. That's not what Cape Cod at Wellfleet's all about.
John, you have something to say?
I mean, it's a little extraordinary, but if you're chipping up these trees, if you bury those chips, that will effectively capture all that carbon. Is there a way we can do that?
When you say bury, what do you mean by that?
In other words, if you just chip the trees and people use it as mulch, that mulch is going to break down, releasing carbon into the atmosphere. If you bury it or
remove it,
yeah, that will at least reduce that.
Mr. Sir, you were saying that you were going to bring it up and chip it. Were you chipping it into a truck and then taking it away?
The majority of it was going to be chipped into the truck. We were going to spread some around in the open areas that we have there was our intention. But the majority of it is leaving for sure.
Does that give you any more information, John?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you have to understand the problem is we have your particular piece of property and I'm very sympathetic for you needing to get these trees out. But we also don't want to set a precedent where because our policy is tree for tree. So I just think that we just are giving you a little extra trouble because of our concern about down the line, someone saying, well, the property over there, they didn't have to replace trees. You understand our concern.
I appreciate it 100%, and I'm glad you're doing it. Believe me, I'm not against anything you're saying.
Marty?
I don't think it's a precedent. I mean, each one of these we're going to deal with as we see it. This is a heavily forest area. I don't consider that going against any other positions that we've taken. I don't see it at all. I mean, having walked that, it is a forest. It's a forest.
Yeah, we've been critiqued for not having a consistent rule set as far as infraction and what is the remediation, but that's because every situation is different. Different areas, different land cover, different terrain. So we have to look at all these differently. And so we're not setting a precedent that we're going to have to stay because we deal with everyone individually, like it or not.
So Leon, you're looking for a second?
I think I've had a second. I've got 2 votes so far. But then I mistakenly asked for comments. So, no, these are all good comments. And John, your point's well taken about not wanting to set a precedent. That's for us, that's our problem. We're evaluating this specific issue and the specific situation on its own merits and needs. And we will do the same for anybody else that comes to us. But there again, it's based on their needs. Barbara, have you voted?
I haven't. I will vote yes.
And John?
I will vote yes.
Okay, and Michael?
Concerns.
Yes.
Thank you, John. Okay,
Mine is a yes also. I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, yeah, I got you already, that guy, but just for Chris's sake. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Brock, is that Bacco?
It's
How-
Bacco, and I
Bacco?
appreciate, yeah, and I appreciate all the work that you guys do. I've served on many a committee down where I am now, and it's not an easy job, but I'm glad you're doing it. And thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with your trees. That's a beautiful area down there. It's wonderful.
It's a
What's
special
the
piece of
form?
property, and that's the way we want to keep it.
No, you're doing a good job.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Have a great day.
Have a good evening. Okay, the next
What
item,
form is that? Is that Form 2?
Form 2.
that would be a Form 2, and do we need a minus number 2 or,
It's a -2, I think.
okay. Is that, and what makes a -2 is when it's within 50 feet of the resource?
Hold
Or,
on, I just threw it down. No, it has to be in the resource to be a -2, not in the buffer zone. I think it's on the buffer zone.
yeah,
Okay, then a -3, right?
Yes, please.
all right, great. Thank you.
Was it 3?
Yeah, because the trees were in the buffer zone, not in if they were,
If they were on the bank or in the pond, they would be a -2, but they're in the buffer zone, so they're a -3.
yeah. I don't know a lot about these either, Marty. It's been explained to me, but I still don't understand. Okay, the next one is Dequested Yacht and Country Club, 675 Dequested Neck, map 19th parcel 115, notice of intent after the fact, approval for deck area east of the boathouse, building, install seasonal tent, removing something, we got dropped off. I think we got through all the issues other than what was the plan for removing that deck and replacing it with something that's temporary. Is there somebody to speak to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good evening, Matt Farrell from GM O'Reilly, and Barry McLaughlin is also in on the call. Yeah, so there was some questions that you folks had, and I just want to confirm, we can just go through them real quick. The proposed tent in the sand parking lot was a question about the number of events, or the number of days that this would be up. And so Barry got back to me today and confirmed there would be 18 events that he would want to put the tent up. And with putting the tent up the day before and taking it down a day after the event, you're looking at about 54 days of the tent being up. It would not be up all summer. That was one of the other questions asked.
But the tent is up now.
Excuse me?
The tent is up now.
Do they have an event going on now? Barry, do you have an event going on now?
They had one over the weekend, I believe.
So here it is Wednesday and it's still up. But I think we have the exception that proves the rule right off the bat, but let's go back. Let's talk about the deck.
Yes. So we submitted a revised plan. And we found another location to put the deck outside the 50-foot buffer. So we have proposed to remove the deck that was built in the 50-foot buffer and kind of put it on the back, the northern side of the building. With a set of stairs, there's probably about 5 steps down to get down to that existing covered deck and access into the building. This gets the entire deck outside of the 50-foot buffer zone, and I think that was, one of the driving questions and why we ended up here to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not talking. I'm just saying, oh, I see.
Okay. One of the other questions was the drainage that runs down the gravel driveway from Dequested Neck Road. And what we've done is proposed a berm and to replace the paved apron there to keep the water from running from the road down the driveway. After getting a chance to talk to Barry after the last meeting, what basically happens in a large rain event or in a sustained rain event is the water ponds in front of the Dequested Neck Clubhouse on that side of the street. And when the water gets up, when it continues to pond, eventually it makes it over to this side of the road and then runs down this hill. So, I mean, really, the problem is really not a drainage problem from our property. It's basically from the roadway. And we further had a discussion today that if DEP were, you know, he would certainly be willing to work with DEP, Wellfleet DEP, on some sort of solution and possible where drainage structures could go. But basically, it's an issue in the town road storm runoff, not really an issue on our property. So we did try to mitigate it and try to keep the water from running down the hill by proposing an earthen berm and a new paved apron to that.
So the berm would be right by the apron, is that right? In other words, the apron would go over the berm?
The apron would be replaced and elevated. And then to the northeast and the southwest of the apron, just a little bit of an earthen berm along the roadway to keep the water in the road, basically, and not let it run down that driveway.
I see, I see. So the paved apron will actually rise a little bit from the road level and then go down?
Correct.
Right, okay.
Well, I mean, I guess, you know, I don't know if obviously Hillary knew of a drainage problem there. I think the problem is in the town way and not really having much to do with the existing gravel driveway that's there.
Right. So the part of the property where you have the, you're going to take out the invasive plants and put in others, that's on an uphill slope, isn't it?
That's correct. Yeah. Yep.
Right. So there's not much you can do there because that's where the water is running down the road, unimpeded, I take it. I was just wondering if, while you were working in that area, if there was a way to put a dry well in there or something to try to help out with that.
There certainly is, but it's really a town. Not that I'm pushing it all back on the town, because Barry did say that he was willing to work with the DPW on where drainage would go, but it's really not our water from our site. It's from the town road.
Yeah, well,
and I think that if drainage needed to go under that phase 1 restoration area that we're doing, I don't think that it would be a problem. It just needs to be worked out between in this case, the private property owner and the town.
Okay.
I don't think, Barry, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you had any problem with working with the DPW on drainage issues if, you know, when it happens.
Yeah, not at all. As a matter of fact, we encourage it because it is an issue out in front of the clubhouse. We've had water from a downpour, a significant downpour, where it's pooling 2 to 3 feet deep. It doesn't necessarily reach the road to go down the gravel driveway, but it does cause the flooding in the road just out front of the clubhouse.
So do you plan on talking to DPW about this or putting up a petition or something to?
Yeah, I think I'd want to start some dialogue just to have everybody understand that there are 3 drains right out in front of our clubhouse, but we happen to be at the low point from both an east and a west flow of water down the hill, right to where our clubhouse is. So, you know, I think there's a solution there, and we're happy to take a look at it and try to see if we can resolve it the right way. And to Matt's point, you know, with phase 1, 2, and 3, if you're standing on the road, there is a significant natural mounding and vegetation there that's probably 2 to 3 feet high. So again, it's kind of causing that sloping into the road. So that's another reason why it's staying in the road versus maybe filtering down into phases 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. Yeah, I can see, well, you're in the low point. Water rolls downhill, so there you go.
Indeed.
Yeah, I think the only other question was the additional fee, and Barry went down and dropped off a check for the additional fee today. I will remind the commission that, you know, we're about 7.5 times the required mitigation for any work. We're proposing 2,700 square feet of restoration of bittersweet vine and revegetation, not even including the revegetation of the area where the new deck is going. So at that, I'll open it up to more questions.
I think we should circle back now that Barry's here to talk about the tent currently up in the parking lot.
God.
So the way it was presented, Barry, was that you would have a tent put up for the day before an event.
Come on,
The
you have to
event-
stop.
You have it under control, Chris? Okay, and then that the day after you would take it down. So here we are Wednesday and it's still up. Did you have this Monday or Tuesday or, I mean, what's going on?
The wedding was on Sunday, and the tent is still up and it's planned to be taken down. Again, in this particular instance, I'm at the mercy of a vendor who was busy after a Memorial Day weekend. So I know that's
Okay.
not the right explanation, but I'm not expecting that, you know, in most circumstances, it's going to be one day up the day of the event and one day down. So this just happened to be one of those circumstances with a holiday weekend where they were just hadn't had a chance to get back to us yet.
Yeah, that makes perfectly good sense. I'm sure that your vendor was very busy. So, okay, I'm satisfied with that. John?
Yeah, I think we can move along. I approve of the fact they've moved the problematic deck outside of the 50. I think we need to have we need to put into our order of conditions a limit that the tent can only stay up 3 days a week and a maximum 54 days. We're not talking about an occasional tent. We're talking about a tent being up 3/4 of the season. So I think that this has to be the maximum going forward, 3 days a week and 54 days maximum for a year. Other than that, I really like the fact they worked with us on the deck and didn't fight us on that, but tried to find a good compromise. I'm glad they're replacing bittersweet with native, but to be honest, that's an aesthetic improvement for you. There's bittersweet provides habitat for animals and for birds too. So I'm not that impressed with that part, but I am very impressed with what you did with the deck. And I think with 3 days a week and 54, I propose we accept this.
Right, and
Can we just request a list of the event dates? Because I can't monitor what I don't know. So we need to know when the events are so we can go and check on the tent.
Barry, can I ask you a question? The anchor points for the corners of the tent, are those left in place so that you basically just put the tent up and tie it off?
Yes.
Because I'm concerned about, pounding on and pulling up stakes and things like that. But if
Great point. And yes, that was at the suggestion of the vendor, was to leave those big anchored
during the season
into the beach for the entire season. And basically they'd be taking down the canopy of the tent and the poles, removing them from the property, and then returning them and then attaching them to the existing that were already in the.
That ameliorates my concern. I was really concerned about the disruption over and over and over again. Go ahead, Marty.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I applaud the applicant for going and putting in a new deck and what have you, but I just have to express my own concern as to taking the other deck down is disruptive. It's going to cause all kinds of issues, and putting the new one up is going to be cutting into the bank again, another disruption. So, I mean, I applaud the idea they want to work with the commission and move it to where it should be, but I just look at it and I wonder whether a better solution is just to leave it there, but that's my own opinion.
That's a good point. It's always a trade-off, between.
We can't allow it to stay because it was built illegally and the regulations don't allow for it. So the regulations are clear that no new construction can go within
But,
this.
but it was illegal and then it can become legal. I mean, that's fine. I'm just saying, I just think there's more disruption that's going to be occurring. And, you know, I understand the board wants to do, the commission wants to do this, and I applaud the applicant for agreeing to put another deck up. And yes, I'm in favor of it, so.
I'm assuming that the site will be restored and it won't be more disruption when it's after it's restored.
Yeah, but that's the restoring it. You're taking stuff out, you're going to be cutting into the bank in the back. Hey, that's, I have no problem with the application and the approval of it.
Yeah, I think that that Barry's done a great job of meeting us in the middle. So and that-
I agree. I agree. Can we move this forward, please?
yes. Do I have a motion?
I made a motion already.
All right. then
I'll second it.
Okay, Marty, your turn.
Yes.
I vote yes. John?
And you know, the motion includes only 3 days a week and 54 days total for the year, and the schedule going to Hillary.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Okay, and Barbara
Yes.
and Michael.
I have to disclose I have a conflict of interest, but I can still vote in favor of it.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin.
That's a form.
Form 5, order of conditions.
Oh my gosh. All right, good luck with your summer.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody on the commission for working with us as well. We really, we're happy that the resolution is here. And again, thanks so much for helping us work through it.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to working with you in the future.
Sounds great.
All right, the next one is Kevinus, 360 Cove Road, map 28, parcel 24, NOI, construct a workshop addition, elevated swimming pool, deck and patio, and mitigation plannings. I think that one of the things we were looking for on that was to talk with, discussion with the pool people if possible. Mr. Ellis, is this your baby here?
Yep. So I did talk to the pool people, and I provided a new site plan with some details on the pool. So the pool is, it's a precast concrete pool, and it's set in place with a crane. It'll be a saltwater pool. None of the water from the pool would be discharged onto or into the ground. Any water in that pool that needs to be discharged would be pumped into a truck and removed off site. The top of the pool would be about 21 to 24 inches above grade. The bottom of the pool would be about 40 inches below grade. And it would be placed on a crushed 3/4 inch crushed stone base, about 6 to 8 inches deep underneath. So you'd put a crushed stone base down, and then they would set the concrete pool on top of the crushed base, backfill it about 40 inches, and you'd have about 2 feet sticking out of the ground. And the outside of the concrete pool would have a natural stone veneer on it on the outside. So it'll look attractive. And any of the excess fill from the displacement of the pool excavation would be trucked off site. None of that would be left on site. I did add some additional notes to the plan too. I did calculate that the proposed area with everything that we're proposing here, not including some of the vegetation that's proposed, just the construction work, the driveway, the addition, the deck, the patio, the pool, and the ramp in front of that area. The total area would be 1,706 square feet. And the total existing and proposed area within the 100-foot buffer zone would be 3,683 square feet. And that's all within the 100-foot buffer zone. Those vegetable planter beds, we push those outside the 100-foot buffer zone. So those are outside the buffer zone now. And those are just be wooden planter beds for vegetables, tomatoes, that kind of thing. There was a comment at the hearing last time about the brush piles and the cutting. So we were proposing to remove the brush pile that's on the south side of the property. It's the cut brush pile. And I also put a note on the plan that no cutting of vegetation is permitted without your approval first. So that they knew that any other additional work would need to go through you guys first. I also put a note on the plan that the addition would be provided with gutters and downspouts that go into dry wells. And I think that kind of addressed most of the questions that you guys had last time. So,
do you have a rinsing station or, outdoor shower in here?
They, as far as I know, they're not proposing one.
Yeah, well, they got a big deck around their pool, so I could see
Yeah.
that. Has the company that's going to do this pool, have they done it in an area with similar hydrology issues and sand and?
I'm sure they have. They do a lot of them in Chatham, and they also do a lot of them in Provincetown. So they're actually, I think, called plunge pools. They're usually located on lots where they're trying to, where they usually have restrictions in terms of square footage that they're allowed to disturb, or small backyards and that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Barbara, thank you.
Sure.
No, I thank you, Jason, for providing us with all that information. It looks like the disturbance would be acceptable under our guidelines, except for page 13 of our buffer zone guidelines, which says expansion of existing structures within the buffer zone may be allowed, provided that no new structure or addition to an existing structure shall be located closer to a wetland resource area than existing conditions. So we often allow these if it would be sort of on the other side of the house or the other side, but not on the resource side. And all of this, including the little work area, workshop, they're all closer to the wetland. Can any of this be moved to the other side of the dwelling, to the, would it be the north side?
That's what the septic system is, right?
What?
No, yeah, you've got a hill on the north side, it looks like.
The building setbacks are actually the biggest restriction.
Okay, but so I would have trouble approving this because you're moving stuff closer, even though it's within our acceptable square footage coverage, you're moving it closer to the wetland instead of away from the wetland. So that would be my concern.
So this is the flood zone we're talking about, is that right? Or where's the 100-foot?
The 100-foot mark is goes almost diagonally across the middle of the existing building.
Oh, right.
Flood zone's a little higher than that.
Okay.
Elevation 13.
I see. And the 100-foot is from the wetland, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, the edge of the dune.
I guess I'm having a hard time just looking at this, and if I'm looking at the page with your plan on it, is the wetland to the southwest from here, or?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Wetland be towards the southwest.
I was just having a hard time. I see. So that's what Barbara's
Yeah.
talking about, is that